Welcome to another video. I am the RPG Lore Master, and this will be the final part of the Death on the Reik video series. With this video, I'm going to complete the second book of the Enemy Within campaign, and we'll take a break from the series for a while. I need my D&D right about now, so I will come back with another breakdown of an old school adventure. Feel free to leave a comment below with your favorite one that you would like to see me make a guide about. Once more, if you have not seen the previous videos, I suggest you do so. I will leave down in the comments the right order you should to be brought up to speed. But with no further ado, this is the Castle Wittenstein. The castle is built 200 feet above the river Reik. As I mentioned in the last video, the castle is divided into the outer bailey and the inner bailey, with a guard tower in between. The total force of the guards in the castle is 25, and there are about 18 beggars that live in the ruins of the outer bailey and probably will not be willing to fight. The servants are unarmored and will have improvised weapons and will only participate on fight in self-defense. Given that the castle has never been attacked, makes the guards not at all vigilant. They have slow reactions and will retreat if they feel they are losing. All those are important aspects that you will always have in mind and utilize them when necessary. The guards will sound the alarm in case of an attack, but most locations will send help only after the order of Doppler, the acting lieutenant. Most preferably, they will just duck down and defend their positions. There is a standard defense drill that Doppler and his surgeons will follow. First, they will reinforce the main gate. Then, they will move to the arrow slits to set up a crossfire. If the outer gate falls, they will head back into guard tower or the inner gatehouse. If that one falls as well, their morale will break and they will flee. Now, that all is a theoretical approach. If your players are slow and will not take the best way in the castle, which is the caves zoned by the outlaws, the guards will need roughly about 20 rounds to get organized in the sound of an alarm and assemble at the outer gatehouse. The guard numbers and their locations can be found on this table, which will be really handy to have it close by if you're a game master. As I mentioned in the last video, there are 3 approaches in the castle. That is before your players go all bananas on their own. They can think of any number of weird-ass ways of getting inside. By now, I am confident that you're a great game master, and you will take care of those creative ways responsibly. Let's take a moment here and overstate the fact that this is a unique opportunity to have your players plan and act on a castle takeover. They have foot soldiers. They need to do their homework and organize their approach on storming and taking the castle. That is the epitome of fun in role-playing games. Let them enjoy that. Let them strategize as they see fit to do that successfully. Scout out the place, infiltrate if they need to, and so many other creative ways they can think of. The outlaw leader, Sigrid, will divide her soldiers in 2 groups, and she will try to hold the gates to provide a line of retreat for themselves and your players. At any point, a group of the outlaws will lose 25% of their numbers. There is a good chance that they will lose their morale, and they will try to either flee, if there is a way out of there, or simply cower and cover wherever they can find. This is an epic fight. There are 2 points of constant fighting take place. The 2 gates and your players have their own problems. So it will always be great to show them the battlefield, the amazing fights that take place on the gates. Or perhaps the heroic feats of strength that the outlaws do before they are killed in combat. How they save their brothers. Give them opportunities to help from afar. An archer that devastates the outlaws from a key position that is impossible for them to kill, but his back is wide open to your players. An incoming wave of guards ready to partake on the fight, passing through an area that can be blocked by magic or a well-weighted arrow of your players. So many creative moments that can be used here. While they have their own fights, it will be amazingly epic to take a moment to lend a hand to their friends. And writing those words by listening to the Fellowship of the Ring soundtrack, The Ring Goes South, left me with goosebumps and an urge to run a battlefield like that this week on my session. Once the outer bailey and the guard tower has fallen, the fight is over regarding the outlaws. They will not head into the inner bailey. Sigrid might help along with a companion or 2, but that's it. Taking the way of the caves will provide the players with the most successful scenario of ending up alive and well. Those caves are far from safe though. Bruta is living here, a mutated from the warpstone human that will stalk the players. There are skeletons, lashworms, giant rats, evil bats. Finding a way down the stream, the players might get access into the inner bailey without going through the outer one, but some underwater swimming might be needed. And then, when they reach the surface for air, a monstrous lich waits them, so that won't be that easy as well. But still, there's an option. There are guards that they're guarding their boat, and there are two ways to head upwards, either leading to the castle dungeons or into the ruins. But let's take a deeper look on the outer zone of the castle. A direct approach is a suicide mission. Entering the kill zone of the guards with drums to open the doors, it's going to be almost pointless. There are 3 gatehouses, and they have similar layout. 2 floors with 2 towers, wooden gates covered with iron plates barred from the inside. Behind the outer gates there is a passage that leads into the inner gate, which is open. On the roof there are many murder holes, which can be used to drop boiling water, molten lead, or shoot bolts down at your players. To make things worse, halfway through the passage, seemingly into an open gate, there is a set of portcullis which drops when needed to trap the players below. This is a perfect death trap. The ruins where the beggars are living are located here. They used to be experimented by Lady Margaret. All kinds of weird mutations can be sown here, and the beggars will have a radical approach to your players. Depending on how they're going to RP it, go with it. There's a plethora of rooms and locations that one would expect to find in a castle, and will give your players the opportunity to explore and interfere with interesting non-player characters. Many servants can be found that are willing to provide information to the players and the only one to leave this forsaken place. There are plenty of fun RP encounters found here. Use your inspiration and the mood of the night to make them fit your game. Some of the important ones are the servants that can be found on the kitchen, Sigrid's husband, that's on the meeting room inside a cage, tortured and broken, and Doppler in his room. Moving on to the Captain Tower, which is infested with animated skeletons, and the former guard commander Georg Hegel. Players will have to pass from the outer to the inner bailey through the tower, which half a dozen guards secure it. Making it to the inner bailey, the players will find themselves at the location which is occupied by the von Wittgenstein family and their servants. No more guards will be found from here on, but a number of weird creatures will be met. There is a birdhouse that is filled with mutated human-bird hybrid. The bird folk has been created by the lady herself. There is an outer kitchen that is infested with mutated plants. There is the pit, an amalgamation of discarded experiments that they are thrown in there, and instead of dying, they have melted together into a single hideous being. Moving on to the Dark Tower that housed the horribly mutated Ludwig von Wittgenstein, Lady Ingrid's husband. Those areas are infested with cockroaches. Moving on, music can be heard by a harpsichord. Finally, meeting the King of Roaches, a human-sized cockroach playing the harpsichord with his legs. This is Ludwig. He will be inviting them in since he has so long to see people, offering them drinks. He's an opportunity to show your players that mutated people had no choice to be so. Ludwig is not a dangerous monster, just a victim of his curse. He does not want harm to fall his family, but will gladly share information about the castle. He wants to learn about the news of the Empire and share information about his son, Gotthard von Wittgenstein, who lives in Middenheim. And he will be encountered on the next part of this series, The Power Behind the Throne, so link can be made with fun RP and in-depth civil conversation with him. The Temple of Slaanesh can be found filled with unholy imagery and sounds that try to seduce the players. If approached, a demonette of Slaanesh will spawn to deal with them. Here lies a secret staircase that your players will better find after they have cleansed the castle, leading them into the climax of the adventure. A chaotic organ that produces music, which will try to attack with its tentacles the players, and all kinds of different monstrosities. Moving on, this hall is filled with servants that will not fight the party, but will not turn against their masters as well. After all, they know well enough what she is capable of. Again, opportunities to see how your players will approach them. Heading into the Great Hall, home to Lady Ingrid, her daughter Margaret, her son Kurt, and also the Chaos Warrior Ulfhendar, the Destroyer, and his Minotaur lieutenant that came to parley with the Wittgensteins. Slard, the butler, will welcome them here. In his taxidermy room, Kurt von Wittgenstein will be found playing with his friends. The dead bodies he has emboweled. Totally insane, attacks the intruders or asks them if they want to be his friends as well. The Chaos Warrior lives here. He pleads with the party to join him in overtaking the castle's forces. If successful, he will try to kill the players later on. He is the leader of a band of mutants and beastmen in the Great Forest. He came for the ladies' support, and he wants this castle for his own. But I know a sub-story or two that can be concocted to lure the players into his false stories. Of how he was an innocent man that was taken advantage by these ruthless people, making him and his family monsters. Fun stuff. The Minotaur can be found here, the lieutenant of the Chaos Knight, a weird clock room that is filled with clocks ticking and almost stunning the people by the sound, knights jumping from one clock entering the other one, hurting anyone in their path. And finally, Lady Ingrid's room filled with mutated cuts, and herself sitting in a chair, demanding to know what is the meaning of this. An eccentric, snobbish, but harmless aristocrat that will be protected by her cuts if attacked. Heading on to Margaret's room, some corpses that are resting at different locations along with the chests of items is the entrance to the location that Margaret conducts her experiments, the Sorcerer's Tower, supported by a flying buttress having no ground floor, overhangs the courtyard of the Inner Bailey. Her library is filled with tomes of necromancy, along with Dagmar's diary, which contains in-depth the narration of the expedition that took place at the Barren Hills, a great opportunity for your players to fill in the gaps if they have lost some information during their journey. Also, a letter for Gotthard in Middenheim is also found here. Another lead for the Power Behind the Throne adventure, linking him with his cursed family. Our final stop will be the laboratory, a horror fest of a location. Bodies hooked to the walls, body parts in jars, tubes and rods networking around the place with fumes and vapors flowing out. A large wooden platform with 4 steel columns around it, and a table at the center floating by ropes in the center of the room. Wires go everywhere and lead on a metal skull cap, conducting lightning of the storm straight into the head of the wearer. Lady Margaret is raising and lowering the platform when the players enter to pick on the perfect lighting. On the table, a monster, 8 feet tall with a cup on its head, rises when struck by the perfect lightning. She orders to kill the party. If she is attacked before she lowers the platforms, the monster will just stand up, stand confused for a moment, and then jump down attacking the players. Cleansing the castle will leave the players with some extra locations to explore. From the Great Hall, the stairs led to the dungeons. Slagdrag's room, an ogre torturer, is feasting with one of his victims. Not instantly attacking, but first asks who are they. Easily fooled, this can be a fun encounter. Still, if funny business is what he thinks will happen, he will try to end them. There's the torture chamber, where the original physician Fritz can be found here, clearly demented and with a devastatingly mutilated body that he is still semi-living. From here, there is a door that leads into the pits outside. And from the cells, which villagers can be found weak but alive, there are secret doors, along with secret doors on the hallway that lead into the Warpstone Chamber. This is the location that can also be found from the altar on the Slaanesh temple. All this time, as we have mentioned before, Skaven has constantly followed the party. They have tunneled beneath the castle, heading for the Warpstone themselves. So this will be the dramatic meet once more. 3 Skaven warriors are posted here. The lead box is open and empty. The Skaven beat them to it. They will try to hold back the players while the rest of them are rushing into the fissure. Eventually, they're going to be met by poisonous gases that they will be released by the Skaven engineers, slowly but steadily making its way up, making it impossible for the players to follow them. The inevitable has happened. The Skaven took the warpstone and poisoned the tunnels, while afterwards they are going to collapse them. The sounds will be enough to alert the players to exit the castle as fast as possible. Soon after, the castle will be reduced to a pile of rubble, and the horrors of the von Wittgenstein will end with it. Or is it? There's one more member of the family alive, and the players know it by now. Gotthard is having great time at the city-state of Middenheim, the headquarters of the Purple Hand. The destruction of the castle leaves the players with many reasons to leave this godforsaken place. The Skaven had gotten the damn warpstone, which will never sit good with your players, and they're gonna find a way to investigate. They have to find out more if they can. Knowing that the players went into the castle and now the castle is gone will leave them with lots of accusations going around about them destroying it. Some will thank them, others will hunt them. Where to now? Well, Kemperbad is an easy choice. Grisenwald another. Nuln or the Great Mountains, your players are free to choose. When all is said and done, their choices are made. You always have to bear in mind that by now they have ignored the Purple Hand for good. They have humiliated them with this Magister Impetimedae running free, ignoring them. Their honor is at stake, and it seems that one ambitious cultist has a plan. So far, all attempts to bring in the Magister had two things in common. They were made in the name of the cult and ended with Castor escaping with his bards. Well, now it's time for a different approach. He must be led to Middenheim without being alerted of the Purple Hand, and his damn bards must go. This cultist is Matthias Blecher, and he will offer the players a very lucrative deal for taking goods to Marvenberg. But when a terrible misfortune will hit them, their bards will be burned to the ground. Once more, Matthias will offer a helping hand to fix their bards, and while they wait, to transfer a crate of antiques to Middenheim, to his family, free passage with some of his boats, and from Aldorf they will make their way by coach to the city of the White Wolf, where the most powerful chapter of the cult will be alerted and wait to get Castor and, of course, reward Matthias for his brilliance. At least that is the plan. We're about to find out what might go wrong. And that will conclude the journey through the second book of Enemy Within campaign, Death on the Reik. Thank you for being here. I love going through those 150 pages of a great story once more. I really hope you found something helpful and you're feeling more comfortable in running it. If you did, don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment below. I love reading them all. This was the RPG Lore Master, and welcome to my Castless Now table.